We're talking offense this week. That includes a conversation with coordinator Tanner Engstrand and former Jets receiver Quincy Nunez is going to break it all down.
We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
It's picked off. Aaron Glenn. Jumbled and caught. Jumbo Elliott. One-handed catch. Chris Paul gets running loose. Rebound. Can't wait.
Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride.
Game day and every day, score a jewelry touchdown with Kendra Scott. Shop fashion and find jewelry fit for another winning season at your local store or kendrascott.com. Tanner,
yes,
what's this experience been like so far?
It's been really fun. I would say that, to start, it's been a good learning experience, getting here and starting something, a new program, call it, from the ground up, with getting here and just getting to know the players, getting to know the area, getting to know the facility, and getting working with those guys. And so it's been exciting. It's been like I said, it's been fun, and I think it's gonna be good.
What are the steps in the process? You get hired as offensive coordinator, then you go through the offseason, and we're sitting here in OTAs right now. Second week of OTAs, around the corner, you got mandatory minicamp. Before you know it, you'll be in training camp.
Yeah, I think the process is, again, originally you just start to get to know the guys, and then you start to feed them information, start to get to know them and get to build in the playbook. Here's how we call things. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're trying to get accomplished. And you start with that, and then you start really with the fundamentals of play, of what their position group is gonna ask, what the job requirement is, and be specific with them about it, and it grows from there. Obviously, phase 2, you're not really doing a lot of plays, and now in phase 3 with OTAs, we get to go out there and run the plays, and so we get to see it in action. So we've kind of got a teaching progression as far as that goes, is about teaching the information and presenting it to them, and them diving in and learning it.
Can you speak to your experience in Detroit? Patricia signs you. They go through a coaching change. Dan Campbell comes in. He keeps you on board. And all along the way, you can continue to ascend. And I talked to Ben Johnson about this. The last couple of years, he leaned on you quite a bit.
Yeah, to me, it's always about what can I do to help the organization win. What is my job description? In Detroit, my job description as the pass game coordinator was to help Ben. To help Ben become the best offensive coordinator that he can be, while I'm trying to be the best passing game coordinator that I can be. Whichever those multitude of job title or job descriptions that I had to do on a daily and weekly basis, it really was to make sure that I was giving him the information that he needed to be the best that he could be, so that as the offense we could be the best that we could be ultimately.
Every offense is going to be unique. But when you look back at Detroit, how were you guys able to build that into what it was when you left?
First, it starts with players, right? It starts with players. It always is. It's just like it's going to be here. It starts with the players. You start with good players and you accumulate better players, or not. I shouldn't say better, but you continue to accumulate more good players as it goes, and the scheme evolves, and you have your root system, and ultimately you evolve it to what your players can do and what they're good at, and that's kind of how I would say it evolved. There is just accumulation of talent and development of the talent that we had, and just continue to do what they do well.
From a baseline perspective, what do you want the play style to be on the offensive side of the ball?
We want to be a physical and aggressive unit. We want to be explosive, of course. And I think that's where it starts. You can talk about those 3 things. And we want to be detailed. We want to be one of the most detailed teams there is. And we want that to show up on tape.
You played quarterback yourself. What kind of relationship does an offensive play caller have to have with the quarterback?
I think they have to think the same. They have to know what each other is thinking. So when I call a play, Justin or the other quarterbacks have to know what I'm thinking and why I'm calling that play. So you really have to be on the same wavelength as far as what you're trying to accomplish with each and every play that's out there.
What do you like about Justin Fields' physical makeup and mental makeup?
Yeah, it's clear and obvious that he is a physical talent. And to me, he is a mental talent, if you want to put it in those terms as well. I just want to see him work hard, and that's what he's done so far. He's come in here, he's put his face down and his nose down and gone to work every single day. He's been here, and he's digesting and absorbing the information, and he's doing well so far.
It's kind of an interesting situation for both you and Ben. I mentioned him before because he said it's going to be interesting watching Tanner call plays because this is a different quarterback than what we just played with in Detroit. Jared Goff, more of a stationary target, and move his feet a little bit. But here you guys are going to dual threats now. We're Justin Fields, and he's coaching Caleb Williams now in Chicago.
Yeah. Again, I think it all goes back. You have the call it the base offense of what the core is, and then you have to evolve to what your players do well and who those players are and what their abilities are. And yes, he in Chicago and us here, we have more mobile quarterbacks that can utilize their feet as weapons. So it would probably be silly for us to not take advantage of that in some way, shape, or form.
I wanted to ask you quickly about the personnel as we get out of here. You guys build it up front in Detroit. We're continuing to see that here with the Jets. Can you speak to the pieces from front to back, starting with the offensive line, and maybe touch upon Garrett Wilson and what you have in the offensive backfield as well with those 3 running backs?
Yeah, I mean, it does. Everything starts up front. If we want to say we want to be a physical, aggressive unit, then it does have to start up front. And that goes from, however our schematics end up being, we want that to show up on tape. And then when you build it starting up front, you can protect the quarterback, because that's where it all starts in the pass game, is being able to protect the quarterback. It was a great addition. We feel bringing in Armand, bringing in Membo here with the 7th pick, and he's done a fine job so far. And then next to him, you got AVT, who's a vet and a proven player, and we got a great little competition going on there in the middle there with Tip and Myers. We feel good about those guys, and then finishing out the top 6 guys per se with Simpson and Olu over there. They're all working hard. Like, everybody's doing a nice job, and we're just trying to breed a culture of competition there. And we've got the guys that are in that next tier that are coming along and developing, and we feel good about those guys as well. The tight end room is developing. They're doing a really great job. Coach Blasco and Blaney are doing a heck of a job over there working with those guys and continuing to see the development on a daily basis out of that group. In the receiver room is again, it's doing a nice job. They're working hard. That's one thing that we've noticed that you see here is everybody is working hard. They're coming to work. We're not coaching effort. They're out there. They're busting their tail. They're studying. And we've got some talent out there. And obviously Garrett is the one that everybody wants to talk about, and he's doing a good job. He's really doing a nice job. He's embracing the role that he's been going to be given or earn here in this offense, and it's good, and it's really good. And obviously we can see the skill set that he has, and just continuing to refine those skills so that he can be the player that he wants to be and that we want him to be as well. And then the rest of the guys, you got Jay Ray, who's done a phenomenal job. It was great to bring him in, having some familiarity with some of the terminology and some of the concepts that we might be doing, and then having Alan and then Tyler as more vets in the room as well. And then the rest of the guys, everybody is coming along. You got Xavier and some of those guys, and then the rookies are doing really well. So we're excited about where that group's going to go, and they're doing a great job just continuing to push themselves to learn and play fast.
Thanks, Tanner.
You got it. Thank you.
Game day and every day, score a jewelry touchdown with Kendra Scott. Shop fashion and find jewelry fit for another winning season at your local store or kendrascott.com. Shine bright, do good with Kendra Scott. Q.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk some offense. All starts at the quarterback position. Justin Fields. Do you like what you're hearing out of One Jets Drive?
I do. But one thing I'm hearing a lot of is this quiet confidence.
Yes.
Right? I hear a lot about that, right? So, I'm interested to see how that looks in person. I'm excited, though, because I think everybody believes that he's confident. Like, you don't just call that out for no reason, right? So that means he's out there making plays. He's out there, doing what he needs to do. So, we'll see, how that kind of translates once the season comes.
I feel like that's the way you were as a player, so you can relate to that.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people will probably say that about me. I think when you find that, though, like it's a different, beast, I would say, right? So I hope that he really is confident in himself and really exuding that, and because that's a dangerous place to be against a guy like that.
All right, let me throw some stats at you from last year. Jets finished 24th overall in total offense, 310.3 yards per game. They were 31st in the NFL in rush yards per game, 91.8 yards per game. But they did average 4.3 yards per rush, which was 16th. So right at the midway mark. Passing, 218.5 yards per game was 16th, right in the middle. But pass yards per play was 25th. At 6.12 yards per play. Jets were 21st in the red zone and 14th on third down. So the biggest difference, and I've been stressing this throughout the offseason, is the Jets are going to have more balance offensively.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think that the sample size we saw from Justin Fields last year is not going to be who we get this year. I think that was a great learning lesson for him for what he's capable of doing, but I think we're going to be able to see him kind of let it loose a little more. I think last year was kind of, okay, I got to be safe. Like, this isn't really my job, right? This is a new position for him. Like, there was no real certainty. I think every week there was like, oh, well, we'll see who's going to be the starter this week. So I think this year, knowing that he's a starter, we're going to see, a guy that's going to be really confident in his legs, but now also confident in his arm.
Do you think that was coaching? Do you think that was overall approach? I mean, we're not diving too much into Pittsburgh here.
Yeah.
I want to more focus on Fields, whereas, hey, they said, we're going to play to our strengths, which right now, defensively, we're good.
Yep.
We know if we don't turn the football over, we're going to be in a lot of games and we're going to win football games.
Yeah, so when I listened to him speak, it seems like it was more of a coaching thing. Like, this is what we need you to do this week, right? So it didn't feel like, and this is all I can go off of what I see and what I hear him say. And it felt like for him, it was more of like, okay, we just want to come out of this game without you turning the ball over too many times or making too many mistakes, so just play exactly how we need you to play so that when Russ comes back, we're all good.
He's definitely been better protecting the football each year. And one thing that stood out to me, and we talked about it earlier on the podcast a couple weeks ago, was that Aaron Glenn pointed to an incompletion that he had during mandatory minicamp where he said, here's a move the ball period. And they got down in the field and scored. But when he didn't have anything, he threw the ball out of bounds.
Yeah, that's important. I think you look for that in your quarterback, especially a guy that, obviously had turnover issues early in his career. So I think, again, that was one of his big learning lessons last year. I think he had maybe 8 less turnovers than he did the year prior. So he's learning and growing and understanding when to get rid of the ball, and that's a huge thing, right? Like, that was one thing that you can always say about Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, he's gone now, but you could always say that he tried his best not to turn the ball over. So, you want a quarterback that's going to do that, but you also want a guy that's going to take some risk as well.
How much do you think we're going to see out here this summer where the Jets are calling for design runs for their quarterback?
Honestly, when you have a guy like him, he's a record breaker with his legs, you have to kind of put some plays in there. Now, you want to protect him as well, but you don't want to limit him. Even the Bills with Josh Allen, they call some plays for him to run the ball. You got to do that with your guy. Obviously Lamar Jackson as well. If you have that threat, you want to be able to use it, and then, you can call plays off of that, right? You can create different things that kind of make it really challenging for the defense.
Do you like the RPO? And specifically with what the Jets have, not only Fields, but in the backfield, Breece Hall leading the way. You got Braylon Allen, you got Isaiah Davis. All those guys looked awfully good this spring.
Yeah, the RPO, the read option, those are all in play, right? Like, when you have a guy, again, that can do these type of things, I think, you want to that balance with the three backs. And all three backs are so different, but they're all so talented. It's probably going to be some times, I wouldn't be surprised if they find a way to get three backs out there, two backs out there.
How would you do that?
So we had a play in college. It was diamond. I actually scored a touchdown off of it. So
Of course you
we
did.
had three great backs. So quarterback here was in a pistol formation. So you had the running back behind them, but then you had two backs on either side of them. And you could do so many things. And we were a running offense, so the quarterback could also run. Now I'm not saying Tanner Engstrand add this into your playbook, because it's a different league, right? But I think the creativity of it allows you to do different things that you can maybe have a package.
How much trial and error do you do out here in the summer as you prepare for the regular season? The Jets going to host the Steelers in week 1 because Engstrand is calling plays for the first time in the National Football League.
Right.
He's got coordinator experience, but this is a completely different quarterback than he worked with last year. Jared Goff was not running too many RPOs.
No, not at all. And I think, honestly, this is, from what I've seen from his background, this is probably a different quarterback than he's ever had. So, it's going to be a lot of film study for him on what some other guys are doing in the league, what other guys have done. I think ultimately you're going to run your offense that you know. And if we're being honest, just from, the way things kind of shook up in Detroit, he probably played a huge part in that offense and why they were successful. Now Ben Johnson, you don't want to take anything away from him, but they have very similar paths. From passing coordinator to then offensive coordinator, right? To then now obviously Ben Johnson is a head coach, but he learned a lot from him, and I think that he really played a huge piece in why they were successful. So we're gonna see some things that maybe he wanted to put in that he wasn't able to do in Detroit.
And there's a Jim Harbaugh influence there.
By both of them, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
the Jets are going to want to run the football.
no, yeah, that's going to be huge.
Okay. So my argument here is the Jets' top position group, if you put them all together,
Yeah.
and there's a lottery and you're giving me first pick,
Yeah.
I'm probably taking running backs.
Yeah. That makes sense. Honestly, I think that's the most probably consistent, the one you can have the most confident in. Like those three guys, all last year, they were all successful. Now, we want to see a resurgence from Breece Hall. We want to see the guy we saw 2 years ago, 3 years ago, right? That's who we want to see this year. And
He knows this is a big year for him.
Oh, it has to be a big year. Now he's the older guy. He's got some young guys that are confident. And this is one thing about, because I was one of those young guys before that got some burn in my first year. And then that second year, you have a different level of confidence, right? So Breece has to see that and say, listen, right, like I'm the older guy and there's a higher expectation of me, so I have to meet that. And from what I'm hearing, he's got mottos on his phone and all these different things. So he's going through the mental challenge in the offseason to really make sure that he's who he needs to be.
So a person people ask me about sometimes is Donovan Edwards, undrafted free agent out of Michigan. How difficult is it to be in that position where, hey, they got some dudes up top and as far as reps in camp, you got to make the most of whatever you're getting, and you're not going to get too many. But the reason why I bring him up is that out here at rookie minicamp, dude was getting the ball every play.
Right. So he probably felt, I can do this. I can make it in this league, right? And then you get into the real deal, and you find out, like, okay, this is a little bit tougher. And so that's another guy. I'll say special teams, right? Special teams is important. But, yeah, I mean, you just have to hope and pray that you can do everything you can on the offensive side. And you don't want to hope that somebody gets injured, but you want to hope that your opportunity comes up and you take advantage of it.
Garrett Wilson, we've talked about him a lot. We're going to continue to talk about him a lot. With the new coordinator, what can they get out of Garrett maybe? Or maybe how can they just use him differently than what we've seen in the past?
I think there's so many different ways that they could use him differently, man. I think, he just wasn't used as dynamically as I think he could have been. And so, now I hope that, they're not only seeing the film, but also seeing him in person and seeing what he can do, because this guy, you can put him all over the field. You can move him around. You can motion him around, right? He didn't really get too many opportunities to just run, down the field, go ball, give me an opportunity, right? And that wasn't really an emphasis of the offense. So, I want to see him get down the field, stretch the field, because he can do that as well. But then also get his opportunities to do the one-on-ones at the line of scrimmage because, man, he had one play last year where, he shook the guy. I don't remember who it was. It might have been Jacksonville or Miami, something like that. Anyways, one-on-one, it's tough to cover him. Oh, it was against Jalen Ramsey. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Garrett was a nightmare for Jalen Ramsey.
So, he's just a different guy, man.
All right. Last year, let's talk about two guys heading into training camp. Two guys who are no longer here and how that is going to impact the offense as far as change is concerned. Devontae Adams, 67 receptions, 857 yards in 11 games. Tyler Conklin, 270 catches over the course of the last 3 seasons. So, changing dynamic. Where do you want to start? Receiver?
Of course.
Oh, so everybody's going to ask us, and they're going to comment about this, is that who's the Jets' number 2?
Right.
Inside the locker room, do you guys think that way? Does the coaching staff think that way in terms of number 2?
I mean, everybody knows who number 1 is.
Yes.
Now, as far as who is number 2.
He's number 1 with a star on it.
Right, exactly. So as far as who's number 2, yeah, you definitely think about that. You try to find a way to make yourself special. Maybe they can give you a package or something, but yeah, somebody is in that locker room, trying to get their opportunity. Now, nobody's going to say it out in the media, right? Like everybody has to say the right things, right? Because not only, this is, some background, not only do you have to be good about speaking about your position to the media, but you also have to be smart because, the upstairs is listening to you.
That's right.
So certain things you say are going to come back, and you might not look in the best light, especially if you're not performing, at that level you're supposed to.
So we talked about it in the past. You got Reynolds. Alan Lazard restructures his contract. Tyler Johnson signs in free agency. You draft Arian Smith out of Georgia. Xavier Gibson returns. Jamal Pritchett, Demir Miller are a couple rookies trying to make their mark as well.
Yeah. It's going to be a dogfight. That's it, and I think the young guys have to see that there's a lot of opportunity. I remember, and I don't want to take too much time going back, but in 2014, I think about going into 2015, like there was an opening there, like you think about all the different guys that have left or the guys that are not performing at the level that they were supposed to. You just know, like, okay, this is my chance. So, somebody's going to step up big and they're going to take advantage of it, and we're going to see that.
You like Reynolds. We've talked about him in the past. One of the best plays out here this spring was a beautiful touchdown pass inside the 10 from Fields to Reynolds. I can't really tell everybody about the route.
I got you.
Because you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
But, man, as far as the corner touchdown pass, beautiful.
So I think actually they just posted a little video of it. I think Cisco might have been trailing them. So, yeah, I mean, listen, you got a guy that kind of understands certain things. And I said that, I think that he understands defense. He understands, route combination, all those different things. So it makes sense that, he made a big play.
Yeah. And there are beaters sometimes because sometimes as a defender, you have maybe inside leverage and maybe the ball is going outside,
right.
Correct?
It's tough.
Yeah. Mason Taylor out of LSU.
Yep.
Ruckert.
Yep.
Comes back. You got Stone Smart. You
Yeah.
signed a free agency. I think it's a big camp for a guy like Zach Kuntz as well.
Yes. Yes.
Taylor, what does he have to do, you think, as far as his first professional camp?
I think he just has to understand the plays and just be consistent, right? He's a second-round draft pick, a guy that they're going to have a lot of confidence in, so he doesn't have to go into it thinking like, man, I got a strain, right? He just has to be confident and continue to improve and progress every day. This is a guy that did some great things at LSU, but we didn't get to see everything he can do. So he has a great opportunity, right, in this offense to really show up and be a pass-catching target,
yeah.
Right? Because you don't, like we talked about, there's no number 2 right now, Now,
and Detroit used their tight ends a lot.
Exactly. So, this is, I think, he should look forward to this offense, look forward to the opportunity for him and make some big plays.
It's going to be fascinating to see what Ruck is like out here throughout the summer and then into the season.
Yeah. That's a guy, I think there were some challenges for him last year, playing with Aaron Rodgers. There were some times where there was some miscommunication, right? Some times where, he got some drops. So I'm hoping that this year he's got his quarterback, right? He's a little bit more confident, a little older, so now he has an opportunity to really show what he can do. And he's a hometown guy.
Yeah.
He's got to show up,
Getting back to the receiver position real quick before we get to the offensive line. Huge camp for Malachi Corley. Didn't see the field much in his rookie season. Slowed down a little bit this spring as far as not being on the field during team activities. So he'll want to get going from the start. And he's playing a little bit of catch-up.
Yeah, definitely. Thankfully he's in a room where there's a little bit of uncertainty, but I think he has to figure out, how can I find the best way to get on the field? And when those pads come on, I think that's a place that he can excel, right? He can show his toughness. So, it'll be a great opportunity for him.
Are you excited about the possibilities of the offensive line when you got Olu entering year 2? You draft Armand Membu here in the first round. Guys were impressed with him this spring. I know a lot of people talk about sometimes Will McDonald was getting a step on him. Well, AVT said it the other day that dude's getting work. This is great work. Iron sharpens iron. I know that is a cliche, but this is good for Membu. And then you don't even have the pads on.
Right.
John Simpson, we had him up here the other day. Man, he's an impressive character, and he is coming off a really good year. A mauler at the left guard position. At center, you got Tippmann coming back. He signed Josh Myers, who just started the last 4 years in Green Bay. And then AVT's finally got a permanent home at the right guard position.
Right. Yeah, this is a solid offensive line, right? You're talking about, 2 anchors on the left side, on the tackle side, right? A veteran in John Simpson, right? So that's a guy that can help you lead. So it's just a great young group with so much talent, So I'm looking forward to seeing it. And for me, I love the idea of Membu and Fashanu, on the outside. Those are 2 West African guys. So,
Hey, listen, the hope here is organizationally that you have your tackles for the next 5 years, maybe the next 10 years.
Right. Think about a guy like Brick, who is a legend now.
Right.
So that's what you look for.
Celebrate the 4th of July with no tickets on all 2025 Jets home games at MetLife Stadium. For a limited time only, buy your tickets today at nyjets.com/tickets. Terms apply. Time for my extra point. Tanner Engstrand is ready for a shot to call plays in the NFL. Engstrand played a pivotal role for Ben Johnson as the Lions passing game coordinator, and one of his biggest influences was Jim Harbaugh, a coach whose teams have run the ball at every stop. Now, it wouldn't be fair to expect Lions 2024 production from the Jets, but Engstrand has some quality pieces, starting with star wideout Garrett Wilson, a loaded running back room, a rookie tight end who has big-time potential in Mason Taylor, and a young, talented offensive line. It will be interesting to see how Engstrand calls games with the true dual-threaded quarterback in Justin Fields. The Jets will lean on opposing defenses with the run game, and they have the ability to create some fireworks on the ground and through the air. We'll see you all next week.